Good morning, everybody. This is Sharzad Morgan from The Treasure Within Coaching, author of The Fuck List and What I Did for Sex. And today we're going to talk about why people are so discouraged with dating apps, why fewer people are coupling up, and why the fertility rate is declining nationwide. I have been curious about this topic for so long, and fortunately I came across a Norwegian researcher named Mads Larsen, who was interviewed by Chris Williamson on his channel. Came across this a week or so ago. I ordered the book. Actually, I had to get it in a PDF because his book is $170 on Amazon. It was just published on September 30th of 2024, so just a few weeks ago, and it gives us all the answers, okay? So, historically, as we know, people were polygynous, right? People mated and fucked around. We're taught that this is our natural state, okay? And perhaps it is, and I would say that it is to a great extent, but there are consequences for that. And in the polygynous societies where, you know, the strongest man had access to many women and most men had no woman at all, where we know that historically, I think only half of men reproduced, did not lead to a stable society or a functional society. It led to a lot of warring, a lot of strife, and civilization did not actually progress until we started putting in some societal constraints on this natural proclivity that women have to just mate with the most attractive, high-value men, and that the strongest man, pretty much they raped and plundered all the women. So that natural state kept us in the dark ages, I'm going to say. It was only with the introduction of monogamy imposed by the church, which we think of as like sexual repression, actually had an important function in that it made sure that instead of one man having many women and most men having none at all, that they made it so that every man could have a woman. This resulted in the great advancement of civilization, because when men no longer had to fight to get the women and fight each other, they were able to turn their attention to developing civilization. It created social stability. So, since that time, there have been varying changes in this because, you know, we had women's empowerment and different types of cultural narratives and how our mating would go. So in the book I was mentioning by Mads Larsen, it's called Stories of Love from Vikings to Tinder, The Evolution of Modern Mating Ideologies, Dating Dysfunction, and Demographic Collapse, which I actually had to print out because, like I said, it was $168 on Amazon. So I paid $60 to have it printed out. Now let's go into an important part. I'm going to make more videos on this because I'm ready to go to the gym. I'm having like a super bad hair day, but I just wanted to get this video out right now. So from chapter 8, where he talks about confluent love, I'm going to read to you a couple very important main points. Confluent love is the idea of serial monogamy. We didn't always have that. Confluent love is kind of about, you know, us going for our own emotional fulfillment, serial monogamy, that pair bonding and recreation are optional. And this only came about in the early 1900s, because before that we had romantic love, which is finding your soulmate, your one and only, and that men and women are complementary. And it's this change in our cultural narrative and our mating ideologies and our search for personal fulfillment that has led to the decline in fertility. But it gets a lot more interesting than that. So let me continue. Okay, I took some notes. What he writes is that confluent love promotes convenience, self-realization and reward, making our era's high levels of singledom and promiscuity and impending demographic collapse somewhat predictable. And that's from page 173 of the book. Confluent love is the focus on individual fulfillment, something that's very new in human history. Since probably the last 500 years, we've had different philosophies of how we as a society view love. Now, this author is looking at Norwegian society, but this really applies to American society as well. So we had courtly love, which promoted courtesy and fidelity. That came after, like the heroic love, where like the hero plunders and rapes and takes women by force. The courtly love was about being courteous and being faithful and treating women better. Then we had companionate love, which put family and community ahead of individual concerns. Then we had romantic love, which extolled high-value men, but restricted them to having only one mate. Now we have confluent love, which did for mating markets what neoliberalism did for financial markets. Unbridled individualism was assumed to aggregate to societal good. But instead, something quite different has happened, and this is why people are so unhappy with the dating apps. Here are some other notes that I took. Hookup culture that we have now is closer to polygyny. Remember, polygyny is where a man has like a tribe of women and most men have no one at all. Hookup culture is just like polygyny in that way, in which the most attractive men, the upper 5 or 10% of men, have easy access to many women. These attractive, successful, charming men ignite in us ladies an immediate attraction. This is biological. Okay, don't get mad at us. We can't help it. We're like, oh my God, this guy's hot. I want to fuck him. And now we're allowed to feel that way and do it. Okay, historically, we couldn't do it. Our sexuality was held in check by sexual mores or religious shaming, and men had to be concerned about impregnating us. Well, now we have birth control, we have unbridled sexuality, and we're like, he's hot, I want to fuck him. And these successful men will do it. I mean, men have a much higher sex drive than women. In fact, in a survey, the average Norwegian man wanted 25 sexual partners and a woman wanted only 5. Men have a greater need for sexual conquest, variety, novelty, trying crazy things that women would never want to do. And so these successful men are the ones able to get women. Now, all men want it, but they can't get it, okay? This is just biology. Now, biology was held in check by social mores, cultural mores, societal expectations. Like I said, women, and that came about because we didn't want a bunch of illegitimate children running around. So we put constraints on female sexuality and required men to be monogamous, as the church did. This was not to shame people for sex, but to keep all these illegitimate children. So women are evolved to want the most successful men, but we did not evolve to look out for charlatans. This is where we're going by emotion rather than reason, because we're like, oh my God, he saw it, I want to fuck him, not realizing what I'm about to get into next. Okay, so hookup culture is closer to polygyny, in which the most attractive men, the upper 5 to 10%, have easy access to many women, as I said. These attractive, successful, charming men ignite in us ladies an immediate attraction. This is biological. Throughout history, societies have come up with cultural narratives to prevent this natural polygyny and the resulting illegitimate children. Then birth control came about, and also women are no longer sexually shamed. So we thought we could all just fuck who we wanted and we would all be better off, right? Everyone would have sex with everyone, free sex, free love. We thought we would all benefit. That's what we thought. We thought we would benefit from this last sexual revolution. But now we found out we don't. We do not all benefit. The only people benefiting from this unbridled free sex is the top 5 to 10% of men. Okay? They're the only ones who benefit. Because women do not want these guys to just fucking leave. We think, oh, well, he fucked me, I can get into a relationship with him. That's what we think. This is an entryway for me to have a relationship with this man. That's what we as women think. And we found out they don't. Over and over and over and trying, because no one's telling us this truth, which we're starting to realize on our own. Women are starting to speak up about it. This is in this book. I'm speaking about it. But this is just a new thing that we're realizing, that the nature of men and women is very different. That only if the top 5 to 10% of men benefit, the other 90% of men are getting no sex at all, or very little. And women hate it. Women are not benefiting from this casual sex lifestyle. So the casual sex lifestyle benefits the top 5 to 10% of men, and the rest of the men and all the women, practically all the women, except the very rare woman who has something wrong with her, frankly, they hate it. Therefore, people are fed up with the dating apps, and the pair bonding and fertility is declining. Why is it declining? Because women who are used to having easy access to hot guys for sex, we think we can get these high-value men for mating, not understanding that a fuck is not a mate, and that mating works assortatively. Women expect to date only men who trigger immediate arousal. We're so used to being able to fuck men who turn us on immediately that we screen out any men who don't immediately trigger this arousal. And only these charming types can do that. Only hot, charming men can trigger immediate arousal. We're used to that, we want that, and we expect that, and we think that this is love, or that this is real, or this is the good thing, not realizing that this is just lust, temporary lust, and these men don't make good partners and will never date us, because mating works assortatively. You have your mating market value and your sexual market value. But your mating market value is assortative, meaning that you're only going to mate with people who are similar to you, socioeconomically, educationally, demographically, looks-wise. So your sexual market value is just like, do I want to fuck you? And most women have a high sexual market value because most men will fuck us. But they're not going to date us unless we have similar mating market value. This is what women don't realize. They have to learn. So, okay, so again, the issues are, number one, women misunderstand the short-term versus the long-term mating market. They think that I could fuck this guy so I could date this guy. Not understanding that high-value men want to fuck a lot of women, and just because he fuck you doesn't mean he wants to date you. I've made a lot of videos about that already. But this one is a new one. The problem is that we women expect to date only men who trigger immediate arousal, and we overlook any man who does not immediately arouse us, not understanding that historically mates were not selected by us for immediate arousal. Many long time ago, mates were selected by the community or the kin, then later by the family as like in an arranged marriage, and then later on by courtship, where a man who had to gather resources courted a woman, and then a woman would bond to him naturally over time as she got to know him, as they built like a love and a connection. It was never supposed to be about immediate lust. The third problem is that low-value men, and by that I mean men that are not hot immediately, causing like a tingle in the groin for a woman, or in the heart, like the romance hero. If you're not a romance hero or James Bond, you're left out, okay? It's most of you. These men wonder why nobody wants them for sex or for pair bonding. And the problem is that society has denigrated courtship. Courtship which historically allowed a woman to fall in love, because women now expect immediate arousal. And of course, the average man wants about 10 times the number of sex partners as the average woman, which makes men think we women are lucky to have easy access to sex, not at all understanding that it's not what we want. That's why women are speaking up against this hookup culture. They're checking out of the sexual revolution. They're talking about it. They're writing books about it. And we are finding out women hate it. Women do not want women don't want the same thing as men sexually. I've talked about the difference between our sexes many times, but I like how this author put it all together in a way that we can all understand. So the reason that people are getting divorced more and having more premarital sex and are more promiscuous is because we've embraced this desire for individualism, for finding ourselves, for personal fulfillment, over the desire to like have a family or to sacrifice for reproduction. So the dynamics of the mating market transformed. This is from page 161. Before, what I was reading you was some notes I had taken. Now I'm going to read to you from a few sentences from the book. Lifelong monogamy had driven assortative mating, which is the search for one person of similar mate value. The emergence of a de facto polygynous regime, which is what we have now, allowed attractive men to accumulate a large number of lovers and partners. And that's what's happening now. I'm thinking of someone super hot like Matt Gaetz. When I saw him, I'd never seen him before. I'm like, that guy's fucking hot. I'd fuck this guy in a heartbeat. And he can get a lot of women. That's who I'm talking about in the top 5%. And, you know, I'm not a top 5% woman. I don't claim to be. And most men are not top 5% men, like a Matt Gaetz, someone like that, or like those, even that Pete Hegseth who's in the news. I mean, these guys are like freaking hot. And they're probably past their player stages now, but guys like that can command women if they wanted. Boom. Okay, that's who kind of guy I'm talking about. These men, if they want it, can accumulate a large number of women. And at the same time, women can gain access. These women, and I don't know who these guys are. I just saw them on the news. I'm like, God, these guys are hot. At the same time, women can gain access to high-value men for erotic adventures, but not pair bonding. This is critical, ladies, if you're listening. And I've made videos before about my trophy fucks, which are like, in my book, The Fuck List, like, this guy is a trophy fuck. But these guys don't necessarily want to date us because we're just another one of their adventures, right? Women can gain access to high-value men for erotic adventures, but not pair bonding. And this is what women need to know. That when you fuck a guy like that, you're just a fuck. Okay? Because there's a difference between short-term mating and long-term mating for men. For women, it's pretty much the same. The men we choose for short-term mating are the men we would choose for long-term mating. But for men, it's very different because for long-term mating, they have a certain person in mind. But when it comes to short-term mating, men have very little discrimination. That's the big difference. I've talked about this before. So that is the thing that women have to understand. And when women start getting used to acting on that sexual lust for this hot trophy fuck, they are spoiling their arousal system. Kind of like if you eat a lot of sugar and everything all the time, then spinach may not taste so good anymore, or lentil soup may not taste so good anymore because you've ruined your taste buds. And I think a lot of women have ruined their arousal systems by expecting to be instantly turned on. And our society has downplayed the value of courtship because it's all supposed to be about free love. I think we're better off if we put sex more on the back burner and start seeing ourselves more as people and valuing more than just a sexual connection in someone, valuing more than just what the man can bring as resources to the table, because now women make their own resources. I've talked before about how men should not spend a lot of money on the first date and how women shouldn't give out sex on the first date, like they're interchangeable. Money for a man is interchangeable to sex for a woman. So I'm going to propose that, that we should be dating people that we're interested in, regardless of the sex or money aspect, and see if it can grow into something more. There's a dating coach I worked with years ago who told me that I should date men who are a 7 out of 10 and get to know them and see if they can turn into a 10 out of 10 for me. But that's not possible online. Online, a woman is only going to respond to her immediate arousal. So men who can generate immediate arousal online are the only men who are going to make out on the dating apps. I made another video where I said, if you cannot get a woman in real life, you can't get one online. I still think that. But the men who score online are the men who are already scoring in real life. So historically, men have had to bring other qualities to the table, like resources, in order to get a woman to want to pair bond with them. And I think that women don't need a man's resources as much for pair bonding when we make our own money, but we need to start to feel an attraction to him based on how he treats us, some kind of chivalry or courtship. And I also think a return for men to be more masculine, move away from the domesticated urban selves, to arouse in us, instead of this immediate lust of like, oh, he's so hot, he's so, it could be he's so masculine, he's got a beard, he's a lumberjack, he can fix a car, he can be out in the wilderness, he can really take care of me. We have to get back to igniting a woman's like instinct, biological instinct, rather than based on hotness, based on masculinity, rugged masculinity and some kind of a courtship. Unfortunately, I've turned off the comments to my video because there are people who don't know how to behave in the comments. So unfortunately, I cannot hear what you have to say on this video. But if you buy me a coffee, go to the bio of my channel, then you can give your thoughts to me that way, or you can become a member of my channel. And I do have the comments on for the members. So in closing, under the confluent regime which we have now, we value independence from biology and culture. We value in our society now this independence. And so pair bonding and reproduction are optional. We no longer value pair bonding and reproduction. We value the individual, we're not tied to our biology. But I think that people are starting to miss out. Things are kind of shifting, and there's going to be new ideals. So I'm going to be making more videos on this topic, which I think is so fascinating. And thank you so much for watching my video. Again, if you go to the bio of my channel, you'll see you can buy my book, The Fuck List, or the Rewrite What I Did for Sex. I am currently working on another book. I would love to find a publisher for that book. I have to think about that. If I still want to, I kind of start writing on it. I haven't really worked on it much beyond the first 30 pages, but it's kind of something I'm tinkering around with as well. If you want to contact me for coaching, go to my website, thetreasurewithincoaching.com, or just stick around and watch these free videos on YouTube. And have a good day. Thanks for watching, everyone.